adaptive cruise control malfunction. Forward alert function. This one's got cruise control with like a proximity sensing, anti-collision, no fuel, and we've got an ABS light top left and an anti-skid traction control light. This is the faults I've got, and this was the solution for me. Okay, so how did I come to find the fault? I started first with the ABS fault because I thought that would be the most likely, rather than as soon as ABS fault come on, I had the traction control, I had the cruise control, I had the collision protection all come on at once. You can't have that many modules go at once, unless it's something so bad. So I started with the ABS. In my experience of ABS faults, which is limited because I'm only a little DIYer on cars, it's always been the plugs or water ingress into the leads. So I started by removing the plugs from the ABS sensors, stroke speed sensors, on the front wheels. They were fine, and I come to the rear of the vehicle. Sensors are all intact. There are ways that you'll see on YouTube to check the sensors themselves. I always find that just buying a spare sensor tends to do the job. Whether it's not quite the right one, like this one will also fit the front, it will fit the rear. It is a Mondeo sensor, retails for about £12, and you can just plug these in and out. Okay, and that will see whether you've got the fault, not the fault. Other people have tested them by doing resistance checks, spinning the wheel with a ammeter on it and checking whether you get a voltage back. But the trouble with some cars, especially the CAN bus ones, is that they induce a voltage into the sensor and measure the feedback. So it's hard to check whether they work sometimes or don't work as an amateur. Obviously, if you've got the correct plug-in equipment, it will tell you which sensor it is straight away. In hindsight, I should have popped down to my mate's garage and it would have told me straight away what it was, but you don't like to bug people when you're after a freebie all the time. You might really need it one day. So anyway, how did I get here? That's it. So I simply went around the car, come to this lead on the rear. I haven't seen on any other car I've owned that was on there a lead that you can totally unplug underneath the car. It's always gone into the car, through a grommet, into the boot, into the engine bay, something like that. I've never seen one underneath. So as soon as I got to the back of the car, this raised my suspicions anyway. Unplug that end perfectly. That's the speed sensor end. Okay, unplug that, put this spare speed sensor that I had on anyway, which I didn't need. Tried that, fault was still present. Then I noticed that this went back into the car just before this is rear near side, okay, and this goes in a really stupid place. This is in front of the wheel, in the crud, in everything, getting attacked permanently by the environment. And as soon as I noticed that, a little bit of damage there. You see the water's getting. I'll go into that in a few more minutes and I'll show you how to meter the lead, but simply take your lead off. That was obviously attached to that before I cut it, and meter your lead through, which I'll show you. But that was the problem with my car, was this lead water ingress. Okay, this is a new wire, so I expect this to be perfect, but this is just to show you how to check your continuity and whether you've got a short between the two wires. So shove some paper clips in to the female and simply pick up one of your prongs. So there, we've got continuity in that one. Check the other one and there's no continuity, so we know we haven't got a short. And then just vice versa onto the other one. Check the one prong, nothing. Check the other one, and we got continuity again. So we know that lead is good, as it should be. That fella there is your speed sensor. Okay, and it picks up on a ring that's inside the hub here. So this is the back of the radius arm we're looking at here. Okay, and it's simply a Torx bit that takes that out. The Torx screw just there that takes that out. Be careful you don't lose, there's normally a seal or an O-ring in there. Clean it up as well. Put a bit of grease on it before you put it back in, because it keeps the pickup ring nice and clean. So this is the route of the cable. It goes from where you've just seen the speed sensor, which is down there. That's the last little bit I showed you. This ain't coming out too well, is it? But you get the gist. Speed sensors in there, back of the hub. The wire goes along there, over the top of here, down back of the radius arm there, down to there, round there, and into that plug there. It simply plugs into that there. Okay, these are the cut wires from the old one. Okay, I simply left the plug in while I was waiting for the new lead to come through the post to keep that dry. Otherwise all shit would have gone in there. So that way it goes, that's how it is. So from there, along the arm, into the speed sensor, which is at the back of the hub. So we unplugged the lead. There you go. So that was up there, facing that way. That's to the ABS control unit that way. It goes into your boot there. So you're not looking at that end, and it faces that way. Okay. So we can see all the contacts are good in here. So we know we haven't got no worries here. This is the cut-off plug. Okay. And what we got is a load of green coming out of the back of the plug, especially on the blue wire. You see the failed cable just there. Got a load of green snot coming out of it where the copper's corroding. Okay, so that's where the fault was. So we're just going to give this a little blowout anyway. So got the new plug. Okay, what you want to do, get yourself a bit of Vaseline on here. The reason for this being, there's a little seal, like a little X ring all the way around the bottom of there, and this will help it seal. Okay. And there you go. That's together. You'll see there's a number of other wires on the back of here. You only use two. They go to your speed sensor. The other ones are things like self-leveling suspension, self-leveling lights that detects. They're used like a sensor on the suspension, and it feeds back to the ECU and dips the headlights accordingly. So you got things like that that go down here. We don't need that because this car hasn't got it. We're just simply using the two wires, which are the speed sensor wires. All the others are blocked off from the factory, so we can't get in anywhere else. What I'm also going to do here is give it a little tickle with the wax oil, because all this is unprotected, that's how it comes. So we're going to absolutely mental place to have a multi-pin plug right next to the wheel arch. Right, there you go. Okay, this is down to the plug, just a little tip when you refit it. That's the new wire. Okay, make sure you got enough slack that it allows the radius arm to do that, because that's where the brake was on mine, just there. So that's your multi-pin plug. That's from the boot. Multi-pin plug out to the sensor facing forward, and just on that loop there was where the brake was. And originally that cable was quite tight there, so I've pulled some slack through. So after the lead's replaced, you lose the ABS and the traction control light, the two orange ones on the left hand, but you are left with adaptive cruise control malfunction and forward alert malfunction. Now, although it is receiving a pulse from the speed sensor as the ABS lights have gone out, it has logged a fault in the ECU. The cheaper readers, of which I have 4 off eBay, will not read ABS faults and clear ABS faults. We're talking about your £20–25 readers. The one that fits this I've got is the D900, and it simply will not reset the codes. I've tried and tried and tried. I know it's good for engine codes, and I also have a one much older, although sufficient for this 2009 Mondeo. That won't reset it either. You do need the more expensive machines, and I don't have one. So I'm going to whiz down to my mate's garage, and we're going to get the faults taken out of the ECU, and then we should lose the final 2 issues. So we've reset the fault. You can see we've got the adaptive cruise controls back and fully working, and the forward alert is also working. So that was just a simple plug in and reset. The price of the repair was, for the lead, £65 from Ford themselves. I checked up the parts on eBay, and you could get the same genuine lead from Rates Ford, who I've used before and are very good. That was £45, but then I found them in Poland for even cheaper, and I think that was about £20 delivered. I'll put up the links at the end so you can see the part that I used and the serials. It does fit other models, as you'll see. So that's it, all good.